Now, I'm not going to harp on about price, but, you know, in this day and age, it's a bit hard to eat really well because things are getting very, very expensive. Even things that used to be cheap in the old days, well, not any longer. Mince is still good value, though. But you need to add some flavour to it. Guys, it has to have lots of flavour. And I'm doing an Indian dish called keema here, which is, I love it. I love it. I have to tell you now, this is a guilty pleasure. I was looking in one of the papers the other day and they were talking about what chefs eat at home. I like this on toast for breakfast. I very rarely have anything for breakfast apart from some fresh fruit. But it reminds me of my mother's mince on toast. Admittedly, it's got a lot more flavour than that. But don't tell anyone that I told you that, because they'll be saying, Hewittson's gone completely barking mad. He's now eating Indian mince on toast for breakfast. Anyway, you heard it here. Right, the first thing is we need to make a bit of a paste, which is an onion and garlic and chilli paste, a little bit of oil in the processor, and one large onion that I've chopped reasonably finely, but I haven't spent half an hour on it, and 3 really tiny green chilies, which will have a bit of a kick, and we're also using some chilli paste, so keep that in mind. Then about a couple of tablespoons of matchsticks or grated fresh ginger, and a couple of cloves of garlic, just for no reason at all. And we will then just whiz that up in our processor. Where are we? Now you want this reasonably fine, but not, you know, not an absolute watery mess. So let's just have a look here. No, that's good. You just have a look there, mate. You'll see what I mean. See, that's not a watery mess, because you have to be very worried about what happens when you process onions too much. They can end up terribly, sort of, all the liquids coming out. And then what we do is put a little bit more oil in there, and just a little bit, and we're going to put this paste in there as well. So that's just a largish pot, and the paste goes in there, and then we cook that until it starts to sizzle, and then we'll add some other ingredients. Now that could have been a little hotter, but don't worry about it too much. It'll come up to heat. It's because it's a nice heavy bottom pot, you see. So it takes a little bit longer to heat up. Then of course the advantage of a heavy bottom pot is it keeps its heat. So that's good. Now I'll just bring a couple of things over here and we can talk about it a little. I've got some curry paste, I've got some turmeric, I've got a cinnamon stick, and I've got some cardamom. And I'm going to add those and then just toast those. And I'll just grab that cardamom out of there, because the cardamom needs to be smashed a little. Because you don't smash it, you just got this hard ball. So that releases the seeds, which is where the aroma is. So always remember to give it a bit of a whack. Don't spend 3 hours, you know, sort of chopping it finely or anything stupid like that. Right. 1 good tablespoon of curry paste. A teaspoon of turmeric. And that cinnamon stick, which I'll just break up, just in half, and those cardamom pods, and just toast that, just to release the aromas. I know I talk about this all the time, but whenever you're using spices, in most cases, you should toast them. And every now and then you find a dish that is not necessary, and you can always tell when they're ready, because there is this fragrance through the room, so it's ready. And what I then do is throw in 600 grams of minced beef. Use lamb if you want to. Lamb, of course, is more expensive, so I'm on the cheap run today. And all we're then going to do is just keep on mashing that and cooking it, turning it until that mince is sealed. It seals all the juices in, and it's coated thoroughly with all these spices. Now, if you want a milder dish, it's quite easy to do. All you do is up the amount of meat. Still do the same paste and still do the same spices, but just put a kilo of meat in instead. And if you've got some left over, into the freezer. But that's if you want it to be a lot milder than I'm making. Right, now that's looking rather good. Let's think about a few other things. Half a can of diced tomatoes. Half a cup of stock. That's where these little packets come in handy, because, you know, it's only fairly small, and if we need be, we can always add some more stock. And then 2 or 3 good tablespoons of yogurt. And we'll just mix that up. And I do think it'll mostly need a little bit of salt, so just wait there, mate, because I'll be back in about 2 seconds, and I'll throw some salt in. Not too much, because you've got a lot of spices there, so just be a bit careful. And we cook that, until it's thick and fragrant. Looking at it, I doubt very much it'll need any more stock, but you do want it thick. You want the aromas to fill your house. You know how when you're selling a house, I was digressing then, that's why I started laughing. But when you're selling a house, they say to you, you should always bake some bread when they're doing the inspections, because it gives that wonderful aroma. Well, in my house, I think this is what I do. I do some Indian food, because that's my kind of flavours. Aren't you glad I shared that with you? Anyway, I reckon 20 minutes will be ready. I've got some rice cooking to go with it, and I've got a few other things to add at the end. So we'll be back very soon and finish it up. Alright, we're looking good. Just come and have a look here, Brendan, because you'll see that it's fairly dry. It's supposed to be reasonably dry. You don't want it to the state that it's not moist, but you certainly don't want it sloppy. And to that I then add a cup of frozen peas, and I might add the smallest amount more stock, and some chopped coriander, a couple of tablespoons of that, and then we'll just mix that in. And those peas, as you know, will only take 30 seconds. And while that's happening, let's think about the rice. So I've got some lovely basmati, which is obviously an Indian rice from the Himalayas, I think. Pretty sure it's from the Himalayas. I was amazed recently to find out how many varieties of rice there are in India. So I'm not saying that they're all grown anymore, but I wouldn't know. But somebody was telling me, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different varieties. I think I've tried about 3. So a decent amount of the basmati in there. And basmati is perfect for Indian food because it's slightly nutty, it's got a lovely flavour to it. And then let's start thinking about some of our mince. I'll just turn that off because I don't want it to dry out anymore. And if you see the cinnamon stick, try to leave it behind. Alright, that's a generous amount. A couple of other things to finish it off. First of all, what I've got here is some sliced long green chilli. Now they are not spicy, so that's fine. And I've got some spring onions, but I'll just first put a dollop of yogurt on, I think. I know it's got yogurt in it, but I like a little bit of soothing yogurt on the top. Then some of those spring onions, which I've shredded, and some of those long green chilies, which I've also shredded. And if I say we're in business, you are to throw something at the television screens, because it's become my new saying. Someone even wrote to me recently and they said, do you realise how many times you say we're in business? So I'm not ever going to say it again. Anyway, a lovely dish using mince. A nice kick to it. It's not going to blow your head up, which is great, but it's got a nice kick to it. And, mince is so simple to use as long as you add some flavour. That's got flavour. From the kitchen down at Waterfront City, time to go. Cheers, guys.